Izack Rodda, 6'7", made of muscle. How are you, brother?
Probably not made of muscle at the moment, but mate, I'm good.
Yeah, good, bro. So, how is all the training going, my man? Yeah. Do you do any sort of training at the moment, been injured or coming off an injury?
Yeah, look, it's starting to ramp up now. You know, I had like this ankle surgery about 2 months ago now. I had it like reconstructed, just bone wasn't healing. I just had a repeat stress fracture, so had to do something about it. But no, body's good. Getting back moving now, which is great. Get some of those extra kilos I put on off.
Yeah.
But yeah, training's starting to ramp up for me.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, getting into the next season. So I'm wearing the Western Force jersey here, man. You brought in some World Cup and your cap for being the Wallabies. So I guess we'll start from the start, man. I mean, it was Queensland Reds first.
Yeah, Queensland. Yeah, out of school, went into the 20s program there, and then that year moved on into the main squad. Feels like forever ago now.
Was that under Brad Fawn?
No, I was there, mate. I was back there when Richard Graham was the coach.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
Yonks ago. No, but he came on my first year, like, professional in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah. When he retired, so he looked like he'd just come off retiring and straight into coaching.
Yeah. I think everyone was wondering when that retirement was going to come for him.
Yeah.
He just kept going.
Mate, when he first came in, it was like he came in and I'm, a young kid then, and he became the NRC coach and they had that competition. He's like, I might just put the boots on if we get a couple injuries. Week 2, we had like 4 locks go down. So next minute I'm packing down with him against, I think it was the Sydney team. And I was like, I thought you retired, mate. And he still had it.
Yeah. He'd be great to have around the camp though, wouldn't he? Regardless of being a player or a coach.
When he first came in, he was great, mate. Just that insight, he was a professional player for 20 years or something. He had all that experience from winning World Cup, Splitters Lows, Rugby League. So from a influential point of view, he was massive for us because we were a very young team at that stage.
Yep. Yeah, cool, man. And then here to Western Australia, was it? Or did you trans...
No, I had a little sabbatical in France. I went to Lyon for a year and...
As you do.
As you do, yeah. Might have to go back one day. It's an amazing country. And Lyon as a city was phenomenal.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But the competition, not too good for the body.
Nah, right. Yeah. Why is that? Just more talent in the...
Well, there's 14 teams. You play everyone twice. Then you got finals of that. But while the top 14's running, they have either Champions Cup or Challenge Cup, which is like the best of Europe. So you're versing, you might, have a top 14 game, then you might go verse Bristol, and then you play finals in that comp as well. So you have like a home and away against 2 or 3 teams, I think it is, and then finals of that. So you play like upwards of 35, 36 games a year if you play every game.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah,
so
that's pretty heavy,
bro.
A lot
of footy.
Yeah. So, and then coming back here to Western Australia, there's, what were your thoughts behind that, man?
Mate, I just wanted to play for the Wallabies, and at that stage it was... To play for the Wallabies, you had to be in Australia. There was no, 3-player, Giddo law, etc. like that. It was, you had to be in Australia. So I was like, right, I'm still young at that stage. I was, I'm quick maths. Yeah, I was 25. So I was like, I've still got heaps of rugby ahead of me.
Yeah.
I'll come back, I'll do my time, I'll aim for the next World Cup. And at that stage it was, there might be one in Australia at 27. I was like, I could get to that too. So I thought I'll come back, get home, play some footy here because I want to play for the Wallabies. That was the goal.
Yep.
So that was kind of the thought process behind it.
Yeah, cool, man. And you got some Wallaby caps here and stuff. I don't know if can anyone see that, man? When you pulled these out, I mean, I've never fucking seen them, man, but they're pretty special.
Yeah. So that one there's the one you get when you debut. It's got like my number on the side and whatnot. You get that when you debut with alongside your jersey. That one there was pretty special. That's the one we got for the World Cup. So every World Cup you get like a cap, and we also got this medallion thing as well, which was pretty cool. Yeah. And this one was just the World Cup jersey from one of the games. It was against Georgia. Yep. It's pretty cool. They label it all there, the date, so you know where it was and whatnot for future preference.
I was just saying, mate, it's not that dirty. How was
Hey, you give me a break, mate. No, it was a fast-running game, that one, I think. Yeah. Or just the cleaners in Japan were outstanding, I don't know.
Yeah. So what was the highlight with all this, bro? I mean, like a World Cup must be pretty special.
I guess, they're all the highlights right there of the jersey. Like, the first cap for me was, amazing. It was something I dreamed of my whole career. And when I got that call up, I got a late call up too, like we were in Dunedin 2017 before the second Bledisloe, and I just got fucking smashed because I wasn't playing, as you do. When you're not playing, they smash you. And we did that, and then I get checked, just taps me on the shoulder. He's like, mate, you're in. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Adam Coleman went down with a shoulder injury in the captain's run, and I was like, I'm playing now.
Yeah.
So I was like, freaking out. I remember running and getting changed, running out to get the photo, and everyone's like looking at me like, what's going on here?
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And it was against the All Blacks in Dunedin.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it
Fuck.
was. Yeah, second Bledisloe against the All Blacks in Dunedin. Yeah.
That would have been. Would have you wanted it any other way? I mean, against the All Blacks.
Honestly, no. It was probably a baptism by fire. They were the best team. Well, they still pretty much are. Probably the best team in the world at that time. And I was like, well, what a way to start it. And at the time, I wasn't really thinking of it. I was kind of just playing in my head. I was like, am I ready? Do I know everything?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But looking back at it over there in that environment and that atmosphere that was there, it was probably best debut I could have imagined, besides obviously winning the game as well.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Who were you up against? Whitelock was saying.
Yeah, so I remember I was running out there and they had Retallick, Whitelock, Kieran Reid. And I'm sitting there like, oh, this is going to be great.
Just a few bums.
I think our first thing onto the game, I run on, we got a line out and they call it to me and I'm looking opposite me and there's Retallick and I'm just like, oh, here we go. Fuck,
man. That's wicked, bro. It's giving me goosebumps even thinking about that. I mean, look, some of the questions I've got for you, because, like I said, mate, this podcast is around mental health and inspiration as well, man. So, it's fucking wicked having you on board and sharing these stories, man. Yeah. How do you deal with that though, bro? Like, so you debut, and I'm sure it happens a lot, man, in a team environment.
Yeah.
Of like when you're running out, we spoke about this on the phone too, bro. It's like when you run, there's a lot of things in professional sports that sort of come to mind, but being in a line out and being next to Retallick, and thinking, fuck, I'm jumping against this guy, running out in big crowds, and also the expectations that are on top of you as well, man, day in, day out,
Yeah, mate, like it's one of those things, I guess, when you run out, like your first couple of games, you don't really take notice of the crowd because you're so just like fixated on your role, playing rugby, playing good rugby. You don't really notice the crowd. Like, I remember like looking back at it, I ran out onto Eden Park in the Frostbar Stadium, which is enclosed, and there was packed house of just All Black supporters just screaming and chanting. Yeah. So like I didn't take any recollection of that until after the game.
Yeah, right.
Like it was, you just kind of block it out, I guess. But in saying that, I remember some games you'd be in Cardiff in Wales and the stadium there is just packed full of red jerseys and they're singing. And you're trying to talk with someone who's like a metre away from you, like, I can't hear you.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so how's the communication in an environment like that, man? Like,
it's tough, like you'll sometimes you need like to get, really good at gestures and stuff because you can't really hear people at certain points in games because the crowd's just so loud. Yeah. Especially when you get inside the 22 and you're attacking a line, the crowd starts screaming. Yeah. You can't hear your 10 when he's calling for it out the back. Yeah, yeah. And so where's your mindset with this, man? So if you're on your try line, defending your line and the crowd's going wild, you can't hear you. Are you focused in? I mean, before you run out, I'd imagine that you're just focused on your game. Yeah. You're soul-heartedly and then you're relying on everyone else to be that sort of focused on their part of the game as well, are you? Yeah. Well, I guess like you get a lot of confidence in the training side of things you do during the week. Like, so you do so much analysis of teams and what they're going to throw at you, so you can kind of see things unfolding when you're on the line or in certain aspects. So sometimes you mightn't get the comms from someone, but you can see the play unfolding, they might do a certain special play at this area and you see the move and you can see it unfolding. Yeah. So that kind of helps with the noise factor. Yeah. And do you train for like breathing, for instance, and trying to just stay in that calm state and not panic and things like that? Yeah. So that was something Czech bring in back when I first started at Wallabies, and I've seen him, and when I was briefly with Eddie and stuff in the camp here, they were doing it as well. I don't know if you noticed, I'll get in a huddle. The one they do now is they breathe real deeply, then another one right at the top, which is supposed to like calm you and bring you back to centre.
Yeah.
And I've noticed they actually are so beneficial in games because you're that hyped on adrenaline. You need that second just to re-centre.
Yeah. We talk about it a lot on here, man, especially like with breath work. How it works on, well, depending on what breath work it is, but I'd imagine like the breath work you boys would be doing would be something like the box breath work, would just be calming the heart rate down, and it's pretty cool, man, to sort of see it happen in professional sports. You know, I see like the Warriors doing it all the time, man, with the breathing, and it is, man. It'd be beneficial to just maintain that focus throughout the game.
Definitely. We did, leading into the 19 World Cup, we did a lot of that Wim Hof breathing. And the cold exposures, we did a lot of that under check. And at the start, I was like, what the fuck's this shit? I don't want to do this, you know. And then once I started doing it and listening to the guy talk about it and understanding it, I was like, wow, this is so good and so beneficial. I can see the changes happening in my body and my, like, you know, just being more calm and more present. Then now I continue doing it now, you know.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm massive on ice baths. I used to do it purely it started off to it was more a drive, like a mental discipline of getting myself to do it. I mean, the health benefits from it are fucking massive, you know. I actually, if I haven't done them in a while, I miss them because it's a big part of like my life and my morning routine, you know.
Oh, mate, I completely agree. Like, I went to the state where I've got like a little portable one at my house.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I just drive into the club to steal the ice, you know. I got to do it, mate.
That's where it's been going.
Yeah. Don't let them know. But, you know, because I even went to the next level. Like, I'm big on saunas as well.
Yep.
So, this recently in the house, I built a sauna.
Wicked.
And I use it daily because I just think the health benefits and stuff are amazing. But I noticed a change in my, I notice, like, if I don't do it, you know, I get more frustrated, you know, I feel more stressed. I don't unwind as much.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something I do weekly.
Yeah, cool. And because with the pressure of, of professional sportsmen like yourself, with the pressure of it, I mean, you got to get up every morning, you got to train, and look, you're doing what you love, I get that, but it is also something that you got to keep motivated in and to keep pushing at and things like that. So I'd imagine that a lot of looking after yourself in terms of saunas, like what sort of things do you engage in your life, bro, to sort of keep you balanced and in a healthy mindset more than anything else?
Yeah, well, mate, I guess a lot of people, I guess, just see the byproduct of the performances on the weekend, but there's so much that goes into it. Because you think about rugby, like, because it's a professional sport, and obviously you play it because you love it, but it's an emotional roller coaster because you got, you know, performance is a big factor, selection, injury, family commitments, like all this stuff piles on, you know, like, so, you know, because no one wants to go out there and not win, not perform, and those things start to weigh down on people. And I think the best thing is, like, it's why I don't know if you know, but like a lot of sports players are golf players because it's like that time where they can just disconnect from rugby or whatever sport they play and go hit a ball with some mates and just unwind. It's like that, the balance side of it.
What is it about golf though? Because it's the most fucking frustrating game in the world.
Like, up until probably last year, I would have been the same with you. I just couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
And now that I've actually gotten into it through players, I actually really enjoy it. Yeah. It's just that one shot that like keeps you in it for, you know, the next week and whatnot.
Yeah. Look, I get into it. I used to play it all the time, and it's one of those games that frustrate the fuck out of you, but you just keep going at it because it's you do that one shot and you're like, there I am. It's all worth it, you know.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes, like, I think it's the simplest game, but then the other times I'm like, that's it, my club's going to the bin.
Yeah. Would you throw in the towel of professional rugby to become a professional golfer? I
don't know if I could mentally do it. I'd get too frustrated.
Yeah. And also, like, just going back to your preparation and looking after yourself day to day, like I guess from a physical point of view, because mate, how do you deal with all of the physical fucking contact that you go through, bro? I mean, that must be heavy, and also just if we're talking about injuries, if you don't mind as well, like you're obviously going through that. one, you're going through an injury. It means you can't train, where you can't be mobile. I even know with the injuries I've had, and I'm not a professional athlete, but you know, just how it affects my life and it affects my mental health, man. Fucking, should we go down that rabbit hole?
Like when you think about like when you're in season or in pre-season and whatnot, like, so there is massive physical demand. So you got to do, recovery is massive. Like I always say, it's like the rule of thumb. You're on field for an hour, you recover for 2 hours. So, and that can involve ice, sauna, stretch, massage. Like for me, it's like if I play on a Saturday, the next day I'm either in the ocean or I'm in an ice bath for at least half an hour, followed by stretching, and then throughout the week I try to filter in, you know, so I try and front load my week. So I get a lot of recovery done early, because you can always catch up more if needed. You can't, when you get to the end of the week, you can't just front load it then because it's too late.
True.
So I do that, you know. And then you do the other things like massage, chiropractor. Like you got to invest so much time in your body because it's your tool at the end of the day. And then with like injuries, I guess like they're just another, you know, different thing. You know, you go through, some people get soft tissue injuries, or myself, like back to back ankle injuries. Like they start to take a toll on you mentally. You know, because like for me for example, I had surgery at the end of 21, thought I was back, first game done again, go through another roll of injury like stuff, and then I get back again, make the Wallabies team, like the squad, sorry, get probably 2 weeks of training under, and then just goes again. I'm just like sitting there, I'm like, how many more times is this going to happen? So, you know, so like mentally you got to dig yourself out of holes, and that would have been something I would have struggled at a few years ago.
And how you with it now? It's something that you just accept and push through. And
I guess like now I've got like just kind of the principles I live by, you know, like I've got great people in my corner, and I've done a lot of work from the early doors, which kind of helps me a bit. You know, now I can understand the processes I got to go through to help myself, and I can catch myself slipping. The biggest one is catching yourself before you slip too far. And that's very hard to do. Like I've fallen out of it before I found like RUOK and stuff. Like I fell out of it real deep, and I didn't realise at the time. I like that actually, man. Sort of trying to catch it before you actually fall. Because even if you are falling, if the sooner you sort of catch yourself and try and get back on track, man. Because I mean, just in mental health in general, it could be a really slippery slope, man. You know, especially if you're losing contact. I'm actually so surprised at how present it is in sports players, because like I understand now that I'm a sports player, but like for a lot of people they probably don't understand how present it is, because like obviously, as I was touching on about the roller coaster, there's so many things that can derail you when you're playing professional sport.
I could imagine, man. Like, you know, like, I mean, even the fear and the anxiety around it. I mean, I'd be very surprised if you don't get that as a professional athlete, especially in rugby. Like, I don't know. I know how sometimes nervous I get doing podcasts, you know, and I can only imagine what it'd be like sitting in, especially when it's a World Cup game or a Bledisloe Cup. I'd imagine, you know, you want to go out there and perform to your very best, and just the pressure of that alone would be pretty massive.
Mate, I think like with rugby players, we're the hardest critics of ourselves, like because everyone goes out there to be the best, to perform and win. So when none of those happen, you can't help but blame yourself. You know, and sometimes I've seen guys that a drop ball like that could have potentially won a game might affect them for a month. You know, they can't let it go because they just overthink about it. Then you'll see them at training catching 1,000 balls because they don't want that to happen again. That's
interesting, bro, because like I, you know, again, in the mental health space of some of the men's groups that I've done, and you know, it's all about letting go of guilt and shame and, you know, and trauma. And I'm trying to relate this to rugby a little bit here as well. But, you know, I can imagine, I'm just trying to think of an example that's happened in the past in rugby. You know, I sometimes look at Quade Cooper, for instance. Fuck, the pressure that he's got on him, especially when he's playing the Kiwis and getting booed at Eden Park Stadium. I was at one of those games actually in Auckland, and I just think like, what the fuck that must be fucking hard, man.
Oh, mate, you know, like Quade and especially James.
He did put it on himself. I don't know if we could say this.
Yeah.
But
Mate, I have no idea. I was well,
you don't fuck with Richie McCaw, bro.
Mate, in all honesty, I know Quade very well. And
Yeah.
it definitely wasn't on purpose.
Yeah.
He's just too nice of a guy.
Yeah.
I'm real close with Quade and James, and I had great conversations with them because they've also both been through their path. One of them probably a lot darker than the other, but it's all the same stuff. Life and sport. It's the same processes that help you out of it.
Yeah.
They both correlate with one another.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. And I can see that as well. We get a few boxers on here as well. We had Luke Jackson last week, and he sort of says without boxing, man, it's been his lifeline, it's kept him going, man. But I can imagine, especially in a test, man, if you've dropped the ball and you've created a try and you've got to go back to the shed. I guess with boxing, man, you go back to the sheds and it's like, it's fucking all on me, you know.
Yeah.
As a team, I don't know, it'd be a little bit, can you hide in that a little bit more, or is it,
I guess yes and no, it's still hard to hide because, you you did it, and other people know you did it. They know you didn't mean to do it, but, they know you did it.
Yeah.
At the time, they might go, what the fuck was that? But, it just happens. It's footy. People make mistakes.
Yeah.
But, from hiding from that, I'd say no. It's like you look on the weekend, poor Carter Gordon, young 10, just didn't play the best footy, and he's absolutely copping it. You can't hide from it.
Fuck yeah.
It's just present. And I know Carter well enough to know he'd be, feeling terrible and wanting to make amends and putting it all on him.
Yeah. Ownership's a big thing too.
Yeah.
I think if as a team environment, if say your first five has dropped the ball a fair few times or missed a few kicks, I think if they go into the sheds owning it, then you can get around them a little bit more. And it would be those that would be denying or trying to make excuses for it would probably be a bit different.
I guess the thing I notice when you have experienced and older guys in the team is you can pull someone out of that, but as it's happening, you'll see guys that'll make mistakes and their head will just drop. I've had experienced guys that just know how to come over and lift guys up and make them, brush it, move on and get out of that rut. Michael Hooper was probably the best I've seen at it. It even happened with me. Sometimes you just do something fuck. And then he'll come over and you'll brush it, explain it, move on. He'll just, I don't know, it's just was calming enough to make you just push it and forget about it almost, because he was aware that if you let that go, you can spiral the team.
Fucking oath, yeah. And again, relating it back to mental health, it's the same thing, man. I think if you can learn from it, dust yourself off and don't let it define you who you are. Just because you might have dropped the ball or you might have done something in your past that you regret for mental health, I think definitely shaking yourself off, learning from it and fucking carrying on.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. You mentioned before about Are You OK?
Yeah.
So you're an ambassador of that? It's pretty good.
Yeah, man, I love it. Hey,
Yeah.
I came onto him back when 2019 when my dad passed. We lost his battle to mental health.
Yeah.
And, I kind of was at that stage where I was just in limbo land, and I can't remember exactly who put me onto him, but someone did. And anyway, I got in touch and just loved working with them. Hey, just the stuff they stand for and how they're helping people. Just do everything I can to help them. I think it's a great cause.
If you don't mind me asking, man, what happened? You lost your old man. Sort of stood out just there, bro. I don't know how to approach it.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's not really a way to go around this front foot today.
Yeah.
No, it was 2019. I was in New Zealand. It was before round 1 of Super, and Mum called me. Dad passed away, etc. That was 2 days out from the game, and I guess I don't know. I kind of just that fight or flight. I guess I was kind of just in. I was just in on everything. It never really sunk in. I guess just at the time because I was in an environment with a team of young guys, but we were all close. So everyone kind of got around me, and I bonded with one guy, Lucan, because he lost his old man literally 5 months before that. So we were always really close, but we really bonded over that. And I guess I was kind of just there, and I was like, what do I do? Thorny was the coach at the time. He's like, do you want to go home? We can book you a flight now. We'll get you home. And I was like, thought about it. I was like, nah, my dad loved me playing rugby. This is the best way I can, honour him, and I want to show the guys in the team that, I love them and I want to be a part of this. And there's more than rugby. So I thought, I'm going to play. So I played and happened to be probably the best game I played that year.
Yeah.
But like I just thought, you know, that was the right thing to do at the time for myself as well as my family and, you know, which was the team as well.
Yeah. That's cool they got behind you as well, man, especially when you can feel it's a safe place to sort of mourn and also move on with your rugby game as well, man. Yeah. That's wicked. And just on that note, bro, like, I mean, how did you I mean, that would have been pretty traumatic to just go through that as well. He was obviously young.
Yeah, man. He was only like, I think at the time it was like 47 or 48. Fuck. So young.
Yeah.
You know, he was had me, well, when he was young, so he was a young father. But yeah, you know, it was just kind of out of the blue, really. You know, so that was hard to take. I just kind of didn't think it was real at the time, and you know, I guess it took me a while before I started going through all those stages of grief, and that was kind of when I started to really, you know, fall off the cliff, I guess. And I didn't know anything about mental health, depression, or anything at that stage, so I just thought I was fine, you know, and as a man I just thought, you know, I got to suck it up and get on with it. And that's when, you know, I found RUOK and a few other guys put me on to some other people that helped, and that's when I really found myself again and found a calling in it, I guess.
It's fucking hard, man, to navigate yourself through mental health or a tragedy like that. So to have good people around you, know, we talk about a lot on here, is just a community, man. And if you're sort of in those dark places, to try and find those sort of people. I mean, we even encourage people to reach out through FKR and you know, and it's working too, man. And I guess this is the starting. Well, I said I was going to give this a bit of a plug too, right?
Get it in there, mate.
And I guess this is where the starting line come up to. So what this is about, bro, I'll explain it to you, man. Exactly that, man. Like, people go through mental health at some stage of their life. Not everyone does, but it certainly can. You know, sometimes it's unexpected, I guess, like in your situation with your dad. And what we're finding is that this podcast is really reaching those that are sort of needing help or wanting to reach out. And although we've got a lot of good people on here that's inspiring and doing either breath work or, you know, counselling or men's groups and things, there's no real one place that you can send them to sort of get sorted out, man. I'm sure in like a professional rugby club, you know, they'd probably have a lot of access to all different sorts of things. But, you know, with the starting line, it's going to be a charity that I'm setting up. And I want it to be a hub or a premises or a club, and it's going to be all like-minded males that are on the board. And we'll be having the facilities like running men's groups and breath work, be a boxing gym. We'll be running events, like all different sorts of events on the time, like sound healing. We'll have the counsellors there, and it's just going to be a place where you can go to just get you back on track. And the reason why we're putting it as a charity is so we can just get funding for it to be free to everyone. Because like, you know, man, like when you're in that mindset of being, you know, got that dark cloud over your head, it's really hard to navigate through mental health, and especially for those who are either single parents or fucking struggling week to week, because there's a lot of people struggling week to week. So if we make it free, then it's going to allow people to come in. So without going too much more into it, you know, you can have a look at this online, the starting line, and we're also running a 25-hour event on the 24th of November to raise money to put it into a not-for-profit charity. So that's what it's all about. It's all early stages for me, man.
No, mate, that's cool. That's like, as you're saying, it's definitely something it's not tapped into enough, I think. And even in the rugby team, you know, like we have a lot more stuff at our disposal, but still personally, I think it can be a lot more, you know, a lot more stuff available for people, because it's something that I think is so crucial, especially not just in sport, but in even workers and stuff. I've even seen like coaches and stuff get mentally, physically drained, and which obviously has an effect on themselves, their home life. I just think it's something that can be definitely done a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I guess, I mean, I've on the website, I've actually got a roadmap to it, a step by step of where I'm going to take this, and I aim to have one in every state of Australia, man. I'm just dreaming big with it because I just think there's a lot of people out there that are screaming out for help, man, and just don't know where to go for it, and they don't want to put their hand up too high if it's either for shame or guilt or like whatever it is. But I just want something that's really comfortable and safe for people to go to and just get the support they need, and also being a part of an environment, man. Like when you're struggling, sometimes it's just good to just be rubbing shoulders with people that have either been through it or understand. And
well, that's the hardest thing, mate, is the first step, I find, like just even understanding you have a problem, or if you're a bit down, just reaching out to someone. That's the hardest step, and once a lot of people can do the first step, everything becomes a lot easier. So if the first step's, more accessible, it'll promote more people to come forward and help themselves. Yeah,
for sure, man. And I even look at it like, on Sundays, man, and doing some sort of, I'm going to call it a church service, but it's a Sunday morning where people can come to and, and you can listen to a talk, a motivational talk, and, have a barbecue, bring the kids down, and might keep a lot of fellas off the piss as well on a Saturday night.
True. Yeah, very true.
Yeah. So hey, and talking about Richie McCaw and who do you say Hooper was? I'm talking about now leadership, man. Who's some of the best leaders you've been around in the sport, or even off the field, man?
Mate, like on the field, as a captain role, probably Hoops, probably the best. Like he was just, I don't know, mate. He was just so knowledgeable and so switched on and connected. I thought he was, the full package of a leader from a rugby point of view. And you talk about lead by example. There's no one, in my opinion, in the last 15 years that's put on a Wallaby jersey and played as hard as he has.
True.
I found a lot, again, touching on Quade and James O'Connor, they've helped me a lot. And James, I'm pretty close with. He's very inspirational to me because he's, had a pretty checkered past. He put it himself. He's not afraid to admit it. And, I learn a lot from just having conversations with him, and he's put me on to different, mentors, I guess, throughout the time that have helped me grow as a person.
Wicked. Yeah. I mean, with O'Connor, I guess, he's fucking young, man, and got the light from a young age, I talk about with my business, I had quite a big business, and you're giving this young, uneducated Kiwi boy a shitload of money, and you're going to go off the rails or be a little bit wayward if you're not sort of steered in the right direction. So I fully resonate with what happened there, man. But again, I just think like when you're gone a little bit wobbly where the wheels are falling off, so to speak, it's good to put your hand up and say, I fucked up, man, and getting the help to...
Yeah, well, that's one thing I really admire about James is, like, he had, everyone probably knows a lot about his past. He's done a lot of stuff, but he's the first one to put his hand up and go, I fucked up here, or I was off the rails here, and I wasn't at a good stage, and I didn't know how to... help myself at the time. And to see him literally do a full 180 now, it's a true testament to the work he's done.
Yeah, sweet, man. That's wicked. It's good to talk about those things too, bro, because I'd imagine being under the what do you call it, under the spotlight, it would be even more hard to do it. Like with someone like me, I can go and do all this undercover. I'll probably get away with a lot more, but when you're under the spotlight, man,
well, that's it. It's like, every year you see in every sport, AFL, rugby league, more so, you see articles or photos of people stuffing up come out and whatnot, just come to the surface. As a normal person, that doesn't happen, but I guess it comes with the territory of being in the spotlight more. And a professional athlete, there is more eyes on you, so you can't mess up at all.
No,
essentially.
That's right. We'll try not to anyway.
Essentially, try not to.
Yeah. Hey, mate, on here, man, we talk a lot about the morning routine. And how important it is to, particularly if you're in a stuck position, but also how and then to moving forward, and how important it is to, I guess, to the day and to your future. Do you have a morning routine, or are you a believer of a good start in the morning?
Oh yeah, I guess I don't really have a morning routine. I kind of just have things I always do, if that makes sense. Like I always do certain things to set myself up that I found work. Like I always try and find some part of the day where I just switch off from everything and interact with my partner, whether that's talking, making dinner, or going for a walk. Just something where I switch off completely.
Sweet.
You know, and around like rugby stuff, like I always make sure I tick off my extra stretching and stuff because I actually enjoy it. And, you know, I get my ice bath and whatnot in. But from a morning thing, not really as much because I find it's harder for me with rugby with all different start times to lock something in consistently.
Sure.
I just have like things, I guess, that I can be flexible with throughout the day, but I always get them in.
Yeah, and structure. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So what, do you have a list of things that you like to get through through the day? And
I guess I sort of like will sit down on a Sunday and I'll like plan out my week. Like we'll get a schedule in advance and I'll see what I got, see what times I'm in, what extra stuff I need to do, and I kind of, you know, make a plan that can be a little bit flexible if things pop up out of the blue. But there's like, I'll put it in the diary. There's certain things I have to do each day, and I'm really OCD on sticking to those.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to be, because I'd imagine even with the flying, you know, especially international flights and things. Yeah.
Well, mate, it's like, you know, we say we play here on a Saturday, then we got to go the next week. We're going to Queensland. You know, we'll come in for recovery on Sunday. We'll train Monday, Tuesday, day off Wednesday, which is recovery. We'll train Thursday, then we're on the plane. We're on the plane, we're over to the East Coast, and then we'll do captain's run the next day, play, then the Sunday, back on the plane. And if we're playing again in 7 days in Perth, we go again, or we might, sometimes we're in New Zealand for 2-3 weeks at a time before we come back. So like travel becomes massive because the flight from here to the East Coast is bloody long.
Yeah, I know, man, especially in WA. Yeah. So because it'd be the most travelled team on the so it'd be the most travelled team like the Western Force, I'd imagine, wouldn't they?
Mate, it's like back in the old comp when Africa and stuff were in. I'm pretty sure that, like, besides, you know, basketball teams or whatever, we're like the most travelled sporting team, or definitely rugby, because they you know, it's 6 hours is the closest flight sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's not close.
Yeah, no, not at all, man. So yeah, man, I guess with the Western Force, so we're gonna have a good season this season, mate.
Oh, mate, I think so. You know? We've got, you know, a bit settled now with Chrono, the new head coach, and he's got some good players coming in. We've got a lot more depth and more competition. So yeah, I think this year will be good, or this season coming. Sorry, I think will be good.
I even thought last season was pretty good, to be honest. Like, I mean, their home games, we had quite a few wins.
Mate, we only lost one home game.
That was just the Ian one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was against the Chiefs, which were a bloody good side.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, even with the amount of injuries we had last year, we still managed to perform pretty well. There was a few games, I think we looked at the review, there was like 5 games we lost by like 1 point. And it's like, they could have went either way.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. And, look, that's another thing I wouldn't mind talking about. So, like, you're going in and playing the Chiefs. Now, Chiefs had a fucking great season last season. But if we look at that like life, you know, sometimes you've got doubt, or you've got like you're playing the top team. How do you build that belief inside yourself, man, as an individual or even as a team? You know, like what are some things that you could probably share? And the way that I'd like to relate it to mental health is that, you know, if you're trying to step outside your comfort zone, we talk about comfort zones a lot on here, and having to lean into uncomfortable areas, and but a lot of it's fear based. So what's your mindset, man, going into, say, someone like the Chiefs or the Crusaders?
I had a few chats with some of the younger guys this year, because I would catch them out, like, you know, you might be versing, you know, say the Chiefs, for example, we're versing Brodie Retallick, Damien McKenzie, like in their position, so they're really good, and they're starting to like freak out a bit, and I'm like, well, you just got to like stay within your process. And I guess that's the message that comes down from the coaches as well, but like, you do all your stuff throughout the year so you can, I guess, you can fall back into that if shit hits the fan. So you got your processes and belief in yourself. Like, you got to respect teams, you got to respect players, because they're good. Especially the Chiefs, they only lost 1 game before coming to verse us, and the game they lost, they shouldn't have lost. They rested like 10 players. So theoretically, they should have been undefeated. So that brings a bit of aura about it, you know, that they're the best in the comp, and, you know, at that stage we were, you know, if we win, we make finals. So there's that pressure as well, mounting on as well. So like, the sticking to your processes would be the biggest one, and just belief in yourself.
For sure.
Because a lot of people are quick to see, you know, an All Black against them as first-year player and just go into a shell.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd imagine also from a rugby point of view, if you're playing the All Blacks, I feel that you step up a little bit more just because you want to fucking...
Mate, 100%. It's like my first game, I remember going out there, kind of have a fanboy moment at the start. You're like, I'm playing for the Wallabies. There's some of the greatest All Blacks to do it. But then after it, you're like, oh, I want to fucking win this thing.
Yeah.
You know, I want to step up. I want to show them that I can play. Because that, like, the best respect you can give to a fellow rugby player is put everything on the table and try and beat them, because it just shows you respect them as well.
Yeah, they say that a lot in combat sport as well, don't they? They say don't fucking hold back. I've been here to train.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I like how you said self-belief, man, because a lot of that's where it all comes from, really. And when you've had a victory like making the Wallabies squad or team, it's very important to also give yourself that credit. And actually take it. Like, do you take time away to actually just sit in the moment and absorb it all?
It's something I really didn't do at the start. You know, I kind of just was just so like, all over the shop, like, how good's this? Like, I never really took a moment to let it seep in. But as my career went on, I kind of started to I was a big believer in taking those little wins. You know, you make a squad, you know, feel happy for yourself. You know, you're doing something right. Same as winning games. You know, you win games, don't just go, let's go get Crusaders next week. Let's just push that aside. Have your moment to go, have a beer with your mates, go, we just won. Yeah. We prepped for 7 days and we got the result. That's a tick. Yeah. Then Monday we'll start again. So it's just being in the moment is the big one. And also, you know, just enjoying those things, because when, you know, footy career and stuff ends, you know, you're going to want those moments back. A lot of guys that retire talk about they wish they had a beer with their mates after certain games as opposed to running off to do recovery or running off to do other things. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I think about it a lot with this podcast, and like I was saying before, I started it early this year, and it's sort of taken off really, really nicely. And although sometimes it seems busy a lot, it's very important to actually just sit there and enjoy these conversations and take it in. And because it's you know, it's not every day you've got a wallaby on the other end of the table, mate, to have these discussions with, and also just to be able to talk mental health with it. You know, I'm very lucky, man. I've learnt so much from doing this podcast. Hey man, I don't know, is there anything you want to leave if anyone's sort of sitting at home and inspired about this? What, even for the young kids that are out there, bro, that are slogging out in rugby, man, like what are some key things to sort of keep your head straight? Well, I guess, like, just got to believe in yourself and not be afraid, you know, to keep going. You're going to get knocked back. Like, everyone doesn't make teams. Everyone gets injured. You don't make certain squads. I went through my career without making certain things. I've had coaches tell me I'm not a line-out option, I can't jump, and then look at me now. So it's like, you know, you get all this sort of, I guess, criticism or, you know, bumps in the road, but just stay true to yourself, because if you believe in yourself, you'll get there at the end of the day. I think that's the biggest one. Yeah. Do you believe a Bledisloe Cup's going to... Oh, fucking oath, mate. It's about time, you know. Credit to them. They've been the better team for, 22 or 3 years, but we'll get there. Oh man, it's like it doesn't matter how good or bad the two teams are, man. It's everything's left on the fucking paddock, isn't it? Oh, they always are, mate. They're the toughest games I've played, you know, because there's so much on the line, because, you know, we want to do everything to win it. They don't want to be the first team to lose it. You know, I don't know if they'll be able to walk in public in New Zealand. I've never looked at it that way. You know? Fuck being the team that loses the Bledisloe Cup. I spoke to a couple old All Blacks, and they always said it, you know, some old greats would come in and they'd be like, righto, don't you be the fucking team to lose this. Yeah. And I'm like, they have just as much to lose as we do. Yeah. So it always creates tension. Fuck, man, I've never looked at it like that. That's crazy. Yeah. I'd hate to be that Kiwi. Well, you got to think law of averages. It's going to happen eventually. Oh, for sure, man. Yeah. I've got a really good story about that, but I'm not going to say it on the podcast. But one of my mates has got NZ, and every year since 2007 on his ankle, because we had a bet way back then.
And every year the Wallabies win it. And we stopped at about 2012, I think it was.
Yeah, I was going to say, run out of boat.
Yeah, it's gone right round to the other side of it. Hey, man, thanks for coming on board, bro. I truly appreciate it, man. You've taken your time out and, away from the missus and everything else you got going on. You've inspired everyone, I'm sure, who's going to be watching this. We wish you all the best for the Force, mate. I'll be on the sideline there screaming at you, man.
Perfect.
Yeah, cool, bro. Thanks, East, man.
No, thank you.
Awesome, bro.